there's been a split of this awakening that we have with the age of Aquarius per se, and all the astrological movement that's going on in the sky, that is giving everybody an opportunity to realize we don't have to live like outside of our bodies, but we live within our bodies. And I think it's really great that we're having this conversation, because it talks about, or we'll talk about, how it is to bring us back down into that grounding energy, as opposed to living separate from our bodies and the 3D, really.
Yeah, well, we have been overwhelmed by illusory ideas and defining reality in abstract ways that have nothing to do with it. The truth is that, being human is to be humane, and that comes from compassion and empathy.
Mm.
And to be in that state of awareness, it takes presence. And presence has been robbed from us in so many ways, as technology and the infrastructure of our culture has created so many distractions to have us believe that presence is something that you eventually get to in your busy life.
Exactly. We think it's like the golden carrot. How do we get to being present when we are just present every day? If we stop and say, "Okay, I'm present right now with you." Okay, here we are, right? As opposed to
Mhm.
this, like, "Oh, I have to work for it. I have to work for peace. I have to heal." Right? We're healed as we
Mhm.
go. We're here for an experience, and we're here for the lessons that are bestowed upon us, and hoping we pass the test, right? But we will.
Well, yeah, it's like we gotta stop living in the future. We gotta stop reliving the past, and have a real honest look at what it is that is called us, and really, align with that us and manifest that us. In astrology, that is a big thing that most astrologers really work on when they're working with a chart in a client, is to help them see what your us is. And you know getting back to us, getting back to the reality of us, is really what is happening in this new paradigm now that Pluto's in Aquarius, where we are looking at the facts instead of trying to assess the fictions about day to day life. And the more we are present in the now, the more that the life we all imagine in our hearts and souls can have the breakthroughs that we need to be the now.
I love that. That's beautifully stated. How do you feel that you're seeing this play out with maybe people around us that that we that we love and admire, or people that we want to lift up? And how do you see this starting to pepper in the presence, as opposed to being distracted by the social media and the, well, you want to say the matrix per se, but
Mhm.
how do you see that playing out in your reality of where you are in Brazil?
I see it all around me in the form of phenomena, how synchronicity is at play right now. The collective consciousness is definitely stirring. It's been a long time since the collective consciousness navigated the narrative instead of the narrative navigating collective consciousness.
Ooh.
And we are coming together as an entity, and seeing the reality that we have been in this matrix. And in order to get out of this matrix, we have to step into our humanity and start saying no, and start saying yes to, are we checking off the boxes like are we building the world that is going to be a better place for our children?
Absolutely. And that's so true. Checking out the boxes. Like, I feel that even in some relationships in my life where I can tell it's just checking the box, and you and I, we both know and we can sense, and using our intuition, which everyone has, and everyone can tap into it and tune in, right? You
Mhm.
know when someone is just checking the boxes as opposed to just going deeper and being real in the moment and embracing that presence. And it's interesting because I also witnessed the same thing. And I do feel that there are a lot more people that are tuning into, wait a minute, there's a lot more than just, you know, being a robot and 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 going along this fairy tale we've been told and taught, and it's been really pounded into this programming, television programming, um, everything around us. So it's interesting to see how we are here right now living this experience, and our souls chose to incarnate right here,
Mhm.
right now, in this point in time.
I like to see it as we're no longer doing the things we think we have to do, and we're doing the things that we're compelled to do, the things that we have came to this world with, our gifts, our piece of the puzzle. Um, this is so important right now. And a lot of people are walking away from their jobs. A lot of people are innovating. I mean, with Saturn and Neptune in Aries right now, innovation seems to be the theme of all the people I run into who are a part of our collective consciousness, who are stirring and looking for those rich conversations that have meaning and depth instead of being obsessed with news, weather, and sports.
A distraction, really. It all is a distraction. And it's interesting that you bring up sports because I feel like I have a lot of people around me who are very much into that. And it's difficult to articulate on how it's a distraction because it's such an obsession, whether, yes, but more so sports and any kind of celebrity type of environment or idolization of putting people on a pedestal that you don't even know. um, it's interesting to see people wake up a little bit and say, you know what, actually, this isn't the job I want to do. And it's okay. And trusting the universe and God that you will be provided for, because we are literally like our own source of energy and manifesting. And we are
Mhm.
God, you're God, I'm God, we're all universe living out different portions of this timeline in different bodies and experiences. And it's so great to see the collective start to tune into that. Wait a minute, this isn't what I want to do with my life. I don't want to wait for a pension plan and just sit there and think, oh, retirement's about sitting on a beach. No, it's like, what are you going to experience? What do you want to accomplish? At
Mhm.
any point in your life, are you 25? Are you 50? Are you 75? Are you 100? Like, what else do you want to accomplish? Like, that's the beauty of it.
Well, yeah, collective consciousness needs to really come together in that presence. What I think is fascinating about sports is that the whole world is going to be tuned into the World Cup,
Mhm.
and there's that energetic experience that happens from it. It's just like we used to, young men used to tap girls on the shoulders and ask them if they wanted to dance. And we were dancing to songs that the whole world was singing. We don't have that anymore. We have DJs, but the interesting thing about DJs is that it invokes collective consciousness because everybody is tuned in and together, just like in the sports experience. And these are good muscles to flex. A lot of people talk about social media and how it's been a distraction, but it's also been a teacher. One of the things that it is teaching us is um, this incredible experience of luminal communication, where you can be in another part of the world, have an experience, superluminal communication, where you have an experience, someone texts you one word and you know that they're going through something intense emotionally and that you need to call them or make contact with them right away. So superluminal communication is a reality, and this is something that texting and social media has developed in us. And getting back to that thing about intuition that you talked about earlier,
Mhm.
it really is that intuition that is the communication network that we all have, because true human language is emotions. And with Uranus and Gemini and the Sun in Gemini supporting that, I think communication is going to be taking that next big leap, and things like what we're doing here right now.
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, it's you can go on both sides of it where you think, okay, well, communication and social media could be not the best avenue, but like you said, it's like taking that network and that energy of putting things together. And if someone said, hey, I'm having a rough day, or here's an emoji of how I'm feeling, you know what to do, you know how to step up. And so I think it's a beautiful blend and hybrid of going from before we had cell phones to now we have AI. And how do we mix that, but then not let it overtake us at the same time? I've seen both ends of the scale, and I see it every day, and I'm sure you do too. A lot of people who are embracing AI, but on an extreme, and they're not having that human experience. And then you have people who don't want to embrace AI, but it can actually be a beneficial tool to expand.
Yes, true. It's all a matter of how we use a tool. Like, in Japan, women are dating their AI. Like that movie She, I think it's called.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and this is just a symptom of not making those connections with other humans that we're seeking, and AI gives you a feeling that somebody knows you, and that's all we're looking for. I mean, dating used to be about getting to know somebody, not about sex.
No.
And I know women, they're so much in touch with their intuition. I mean, they've been gaslighted so much to believe that their intuition is not real. But
Right.
underneath it all, the intuition keeps yelling and screaming at you that this is not what you should be doing. Speed dating with some stupid guy is not what should be going on. What should be going on is an education, because that's what we've been lacking for so long, is having an education about communicating and speaking from the heart and being honest beyond all things about your motivation, about who you are under the skin, and about what it is that you really, really want out of life.
Absolutely. And do you feel that with social media and AI that it's given us a false sense of what we think we need to be doing as opposed to getting back into our heart space? I feel like a lot of people don't speak from their heart space. They're more worried about how they come across, almost like a people pleaser, but in a different way.
You know, it's easy to get into stereotypes, but what
Yeah.
I've experienced is that everybody is seeking this. And when you give someone the opportunity to speak through their heart, they are on it. No matter what walk of life they come from,
Mhm.
because the real human experience is an emotional one. It's about feelings. It's about being seen and heard and understood. I mean, most of communication is nonverbal. So when you're there in person with somebody and looking them in the eyes and hearing their story, and hearing the wisdom that they've created in their life, and the big phenomena, the things that brought them to, where they are in the here and now. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's sublime. It's great to feel seen. And you end up, leaving that conversation or meeting, fulfilled in some sort of way. And this is what's missing. AI, it's a means to an ends. And if that ends is getting us to understand not only ourselves, but how to communicate, you've got to write a prompt in there that has meaning to get an answer. So if these two things are coming together and people are starting to get their own rhythm again, so
Yeah.
the next step is logical, and that's to actually meet up, and that's actually to ask a girl to dance, or to you know go go to the beach and watch the sun go up and down without a cell phone.
Right. Right. Or distractions and music and whatever. Yeah, just listening to the sounds of nature and tapping into that synergy that you have with that person, and then oh, okay, either we're vibing or we're not, right? And I feel like there's a lot with pheromones and things like that you don't get with social media, you don't get with being organic. And we had talked about, when you and I were talking about doing this show, we had talked about Leave It to Beaver,
Yeah.
right?
word word cleaver rules.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of every show, or somewhere in the show, he would sit down and have a heart to heart, dad to son talk with the beeve. And we just don't have those heart to heart talks with our parents, or even with our friends. You know, it's a skill. And if we don't have anything in the narrative to show us that skill, we're going to miss it. It's just like primates. If primates are not shown how to take care of their offspring, they're not going to do it. They're going to panic. We won't thrive unless we have a real education about what it is to be human, and how to nurture each other, and to draw those emotions out of each other in a healthy, constructive way.
Absolutely. And being vulnerable too, and being able to get back into that heart space again. And it's okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist ever.
We were just talking about that today. Some friends of mine out there, this whole idea of perfection. It,
Yeah.
for many years, and of course in content. And it's the accidents musically, it's the accidents creatively
Yeah.
that are that set you back, and in awe of just how, when you're in sync and you've lost yourself and you are ultimately in the presence, at 0 point, if you want to talk physics, and it just comes through you, and that's where the perfection is.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you said that with music, because I was having a conversation with some friends about AI music. And they said, "Oh, this is great. It can
Mm.
translate to French and Russian and like all these different languages, English, obviously." And I said, I feel like that's a really great thing. It's beautiful to hear. The music I heard sound like
Mhm.
Leonard Cohen, right? And I'm like, wow, this is great. But coming back into that space of where we used to sit around a campfire and play guitar and tell the stories, and then yes, you'd make the mistake, but that was the beautiful thing, and you're like, oh, it's great, keep playing more. It doesn't matter what it sounds like, because it's coming from your heart and your soul.
Mhm. Well, that is the exercise. And if AI is helping us exercise that and identify it as being something of value, then I don't see the harm in it. A matter of fact, I see that doing that over and over again is not only makes you a better communicator, but it also puts you in touch with your emotions. Because one thing we know about art is it ain't art unless you feel something. And I've listened to some uh, AI music or seen some AI art, and I got to tell you, it was moving. It was truly moving. Um, Keeping that up is going to eventually take us back to the beginning, where we are indeed sitting at the campfire playing guitar, or just all singing together. Like, I like Jacob Collier, for
Mhm.
instance, because when he goes to a concert, and I've been at his concerts, my son actually played with him, but he engages the audience to sing. And hello, people, remember we all used to sing?
Yeah.
That ain't happening. So if AI invokes that in us and gets us to engage and to express ourselves in some creative way, and also translates through all the languages so that we can communicate with people all over the world in some way, wonderful.
Absolutely.
I mean, I just translated my books. I translated my books into Portuguese.
I was
I'm
gonna
very
say,
excited
yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
It didn't take thousands of dollars to do. It took about 5 minutes for DeepL to translate my entire book. I've had people go through them and read them from the top in their native tongue, and yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I can reach an audience in every country about the deeper things that I've written about in all three of my books.
I think that's beautiful. And like, I think that, I mean, I read your first book, which was Awesome Soul Kiss. Amazing. That was like, I think that came out in 2017, 2016.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah. And beautiful and very in depth and going into, back to basics and back into that passion. And I just want to touch in upon that. I feel like with AI, we think it's going to transcend and move us out and outside of ourselves. But as you said, it's going to revert. It's like the wheel of fortune, right? It's like it's going to bring us
Mhm,
back
mhm.
into ourselves and back of what we've been missing for so many years. I mean, probably, I don't know how many years, but bringing us back in that space of because no one has a playbook on what it's like to be human, right? Our heart is our playbook.
Our heart is our playbook, and yeah, there's no human 101. That's sort of why I wrote those three novels, is to restore some of that missing dialogue that we used to get from our grandparents, or the
Mhm.
wisdom from our mom and dad, like Leave It to Beaver. Yeah, I mean, we've had three generations of parents not being at home, and handing off our kids to other people, because mom's not at home or dad's not at home or somebody's
Mhm.
not there to watch the kids. So yeah, there's a huge disconnect. And that's why if we want a couple, and coupling is in the demise, that we need to be educated about what coupling is, what being together means, and reconnect on a deeper heart to heart humanistic level
Yeah.
that is endearing and meaningful and fulfilling.
How do you feel about the balance of the masculine and feminine energies over the last three decades or generations as it is now, how it was very feminine and now we're in a masculine energy. And how do you see that playing out in a humane way to benefit the human race?
Well, we have to stop, number one, identifying these two energies as
Ah,
sexual,
yes.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
because sex has nothing to do
Mm-mm.
with two people falling in love. Two people fall in love because there's something in their heart that's tugging on them. Yeah, sure, there's some chemistry involved, but if I have the 90-day rule. I mean, I'm David Hauser, loveguide.com.
Yeah.
I have certain very strong beliefs about coupling, and the 90-day rule is a big one, because if you cannot have sex for 90 days and you can actually have fulfilling conversations and identify these things about who you are and squeezes your heart, you
Yeah.
will find that it has nothing to do with sex. It has everything to do with coupling those energies. The goal is really beyond the male and female identity, whatever body that inhabits. It is about losing those male and female identities in the throes of love. When you can lose yourself in the throes of love with someone else, identity rushes right out the window. And that's where those epiphany experiences happen, where you go into the sublime emptiness, the nothingness, whatever you want to call it, where there's no thought. There is no, oh my God, this is happening to me right now. Or the fantasies are not going off in your head over some porn that you might have watched, to get you in that mood, to orgasm, where just the feeling of two people in love holding each other and in the throes of love, that you can reach these other states of consciousness that are sublime and have nothing to do with an identity, but has something to do with the identity.
That's beautiful because it's interesting how we have the stereotypical role of, okay, you're male, I'm female, and this is what you do, and this is what I do. But I think bringing it back into our bodies, of we have those energies within our own heart, our own vessel, and balancing those energies and then understanding them. And then when you collaborate with somebody with that beautiful throes of love, you're not worried about, well, this is what you're supposed to be saying to me, and this is what I'm supposed to be saying to you. It's more like, let's collaborate and create this beautiful space where you are in the
Hmm.
nothingness. And the nothingness, that's where manifestations happen. That's the magic right there in that empty space. That's the magic.
And it's sadly, most people, they will brush up against it and become afraid or don't know what it is. Like, quest for fire, right? You touch the fire and you're like, what's that? It's like when a woman gives a man an honest kiss, it scares the shit out of him, because
Yeah.
it is so pure and energetic and without thought, with pure presence, right? Because women, when they offer something like that, they are there in the moment, without restrictions. So it is having these types of experiences and understanding that these are the goals. This is what's where the nectar is. This is the reason to hear it, because what occurs from that is a higher frequency of love. Everything has a spectrum in the frequencies of things. And
Mhm.
when you're coupling like this with you're actually entering the quantum field. And in that quantum field, you are surrendering completely your identity. And that makes it possible for your empathy to connect with the electrons in the superposition. So outcomes come to you by virtue of a gift from the universe, if you will, instead of you fulfilling some sort of desire that you think you ought to have through having an orgasm, which is so temporary and unfulfilling if there is no connection.
Right. I mean, I love, like, you and I are like, we get it, right? Like, I'm right there on that plane. And as I'm thinking about people listening in, when you get that honest kiss from that woman and that beautiful presence, that fear that comes up, whoever may be on the receiving end, what would be a good way to segue that and say, wait, this is a feeling that I should pay attention to, rather than letting fear take over? What do you think would be a good tool to give people on how to start to recognize that? And it could be, it could be, okay, an hour and they're freaked out. Okay, so bring it down to 45 minutes, you're freaked out, and then go back to your grounding space. Like what do you think would be a good, like,
Well, the first thing to do, of course, is to talk about it.
you mean
It's like,
communicate?
yeah, it's like, oh my God, the kiss that you just gave me, I, I don't even have words for it. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
shouldn't have words for it. There are no words for it. There are no words for the profound feelings that two human beings can share from their heart. When you feel that true essence of love, don't try to, put it in a frame. Just
Mhm.
recognize it as what it is, the essence of the universe, the true essence of the universe, and just see it as something that you want more of instead of something you want to run from because you can't identify it in an old paradigm lexicon that doesn't have space for these kinds of things. I mean, if you Google love, it's either effing or fighting.
Yeah.
It's not the
Oh,
sublime nature of human beings. My book, my first cover of my book with two people kissing, who are actually two married people, they just had a baby recently,
oh.
who were genuinely in love, was banned. Was
That's crazy.
banned. So, let's look at these things realistically and understand that the the nectar is something that is not low hanging fruit. It's something that's
Right.
up there that's been taken away from us that we need to restore by having honest conversations like this about it.
That is beautifully stated. It is so true when it comes down to communication because everything, if you can't identify it, you can't, your mind wants to, and your ego wants to put a label on it so you can feel safe. And letting go of the ego and sitting in that space of, I don't know how to label this, but that was amazing. Like I felt so connected and stars and everything that goes along with it. And it's allowing yourself and other people to step into that space and be okay with not putting a label on it because that's where you start to get into trouble, right? Because it's, a lot of people use AI for as a therapist. That could be good, but also not the human experience.
The AI has shortcomings in that regard, but the
Mm.
the the test of everything, of course, is how does it make you feel? And if it's making you feel something, and you can um, grow from that and have more of those feelings, and start to examine the uh, the the different frequency of emotions, then that's great. And talking about emotions in an adult way is so important because this is our real language. Unfortunately, men have been so suppressed about talking about their emotions that when they do have a kiss like that, they can't just sit there and let the tears come out of their eyes of gratitude and just being profoundly affected by an endearing moment between two souls who have traversed time space to manifest in a material form so that they can have a freaking kiss. you know don't dismiss it. Allow and see the beauty and embrace it with all your heart and soul, because my friends, these things are fleeting. And if you don't seize the moment in earnest and face your fears, and to taste the true nectar of existence, then oh man, have you blown it.
Right. And absolutely, because fear is such a real thing, but it actually isn't. It doesn't exist. Like we have created it as a defense
Mm,
mechanism. And it's interesting to
mm,
see even when fear comes up within myself, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't real. Because to me, I feel like fear is where I should go. Like, that's what my intuition is saying. Okay, wait a minute. You're starting to feel fear. You need to go deeper. And
Mm.
especially, I think that some people feel that fear means stop and don't go further. It's
Mhm.
unsafe. But it's actually the
Mhm.
opposite.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, this whole these are learned behaviors,
Mhm.
and and of course, if you have fear, you are apprehensive about facing your fear. Um, it's like all these metaphors and throughout history and in books and in narratives about facing the dragon. Well,
Yeah.
the dragon is you.
Right?
Yeah, and the dragon is actually the reflection of your awareness and collective consciousness, and also in consciousness itself. And all three of my books talk about it. My third book talks all about the dragon. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to surrender the nonsense and embrace the truth that you are a living, breathing human being. And when you come across something as endearing and loving as someone giving their heart to you in a sweet kiss, then there is nothing to fear there except uh, the what you're imagining. The stories you make up in your own head because of nonsense through a narrative that has lost its grip. And our new narrative is thriving very well right now. And that new narrative has to do with matriarchal energy, with love, balance, compassion, empathy, and being constructive in solving real problems.
Absolutely. And I feel that a lot of people don't stay in the moment because they're so attached to the outcome. And so they're more attached to, well, what happens if this moment that's fleeting leaves me? It'll never happen again. And so
Mhm.
it's more of stepping into that, being in that present moment, experiencing it, and just trusting that the path will unfold how you need it to be and where you need to be. And that's where you need to show up. And hopefully, obviously, it's in a loving, healthy, long term relationship or whatever, and not just a fleeting thing. And that's okay if people have fleeting things. But I think that as we evolve, we start to think, okay, I want to be coupled, or that's the natural way of feeling. But then fear sets in on, well, what if this person leaves me? What happens if it all just crumbles to the ground, like the tower moment?
If you just said
Yes,
a
right.
mouthful there. You have a lot of content that you just spoke about. And yeah, ultimately trust, it all boils down to trust. I mean, why do little kids don't want to go to sleep at night? Because their awareness is unsure that they will wake up, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so there again, this is you have to trust that the universe has got your back, and that if you align with the universe instead of so many people get into this idea that they have to pray for things, or they have to manifest things, and they have to do all this stuff. You don't have to do shit except show up and be authentic. That's all
Mhm.
you have to do. The universe has got your back, and the universe has its own desires, and it shows us every day when the moon goes around and the planets transit different signs. The universe is speaking to us. It's been speaking to us all this time, and all it's asking from us is to trust. That's it.
Absolutely. I love it. If I did see you a lot, but that's great. I think that's really touching. I mean, like you said, hoping that you wake up the next morning, right? And having that awareness and understanding that we don't have to put these tools into action to manifest, to breathe. I mean, our bodies breathe without even thinking about it. And so that's how life should be. And detaching from the narrative of, I need to be doing this with my life, I need to have this accomplishment, this and this and this, otherwise I'm unworthy, which is completely backwards. How about living a life where you are sitting there, what am I going to accomplish next? What do I want to expand into next? What do I want to show the world and help people do next?
Or how about noticing what the universe is guiding you towards and using your skill set to be in that moment? You know, when there's a car accident, there's two kinds of people who keep running away from it or people who run towards it. Are you the one running towards it? And when you're running towards it, are you thinking about the danger or the fear? No, you're thinking that there's a person in there that may be alive that needs your help, and you are ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that that person is cared for and safe. Okay, so what kind of person are you? I've seen people walk over people who are suffering and do nothing. You know, I had to
Really?
jump in a pool and attempt to rescue somebody that people were just looking at like, what do we do? You know, the person was drowning and unconscious. Are you fucking crazy? You know, this
Yeah.
is have we gone this far? Have we gone Are we that insensitive? Well, let's see. You know, what do you see on Netflix and Amazon, and why does it take so
Oh,
long for you to pick something? Because everything is about death, destruction, hate, greed,
yes,
envy, lust, you know, and there is nothing worth fucking watching. So
absolutely.
why is that? Because we have been oversaturated with fear. We have been oversaturated with fear. Our adrenals are shot. And the only thing that we can do is what you said is let it the fuck go. Just
Yeah.
let it go. Let that go. Own your authenticity. Show up if somebody needs danger and you are in danger and you have a gift, step up with that gift. It will come to
Yeah.
you. It would just come from your heart and you won't have to think about it and you'll have the right things that you need at the right time to make a difference. So make a difference.
Make a difference. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. I sit there and I will look at, I don't really like to watch a lot of television, Netflix, whatever, but when I do scroll on there, it's all about documentaries of death and this person, that person. And it's honestly a little bit of an energy harvesting, right? So instead of me going out there and, figuring out how do I help people, how do I shine my light, even just walking down the street, saying hello to somebody or helping an elderly walk across the street, just and looking in their eyes and saying, I see you, as opposed to just being you know, a mannequin absorbing all this energy and programming, you know?
Yeah, just being a part of the program, being a part of the program, the metrics, like you said earlier, it's just like nurture our awareness, nurture each other's awareness, nurture the emotions that are in everybody's heart. Everything needs to be recognized, whether it's a puppy or a butterfly or hummingbird or whatever. Everything wants to be seen in some
Mhm.
way. And if we can see it without the trappings of, fear, or I got to kill it, or, it's not my puppy, you know,
Right.
then we can start returning to that human experience. I'm from the Midwest. If we don't just say hello, how are you, as just trivial word play, we say hi, how are you, because we mean it. And if you don't answer us, we're going to go up to you and say, what's going on? Are you okay?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I
be
and that's
sincere.
it's
Let's be
being
ourselves.
sincere and getting back into the earth energy, right? And
Mhm.
I was having a conversation literally right before I came live with you, And I was talking about how I like to go out and take off my flip flops and hug a palm tree, and I talk to the palm tree, and that the negative ions like absorb the energy as if you were in water, and then how the trees talk through the roots to other trees and to other, in the earth, of if I have something that I need to solve or something like that, or I just need to transmute some like fire energy. I'm a very intense energy with Aries. And so transmuting that energy. And you know what the person said to me? Oh, so you're a tree hugger. And I'm like, oh, you don't get it. It's getting back into the appreciation of, like you said, a butterfly or a dragonfly on my door. I'm like, hello, little baby dragonfly. Love and light to you. Thanks for blessing me, right? Just, it doesn't take a second to be that in tune and that appreciative of what we have and the beauty around us and also within us.
Everything has a pupil, and all those pupils, the information that they gather ends up in a fractal universe, in a collective universe. Um, Science is now starting to prove a lot of these things. Electromagnetism has come back as a real thing. We dismiss electromagnetism for so long, but yeah, everything is pulsing. Everything has frequency. Everything is alive. The wave and the particle. Everything has this sublime movement, and when we connect with that, we actually connect with the universe. And the more we connect with the universe, the more we can be in the 0 point, the more that we can actually fulfill the universe's desire, which is ultimately a fulfillment of our special gifts and piece of the puzzle. So yeah, it's all, everything is a part of everything. Oh my God, I wrote a pamphlet in high school about everything is a part of everything. And at 17 in the 70s, writing a pamphlet about something like that. And I was lucky. The teachers let me Xerox it and make a whole bunch of them. And I handed them out to
Oh,
whomever would take one from me. And yeah, everything is a part of everything, and everything needs to be recognized, whether it's a microbe or a blue whale. Everything needs to be
yeah,
recognized.
absolutely. It's all intertwined. It's the web of how we're all intertwined, and it's the transmitters
Mhm.
of how we communicate verbally and non-verbally, more so non-verbally, and as you said earlier, with emotion and appreciation.
The Tibetans call it the endless knot, and it's a really great icon. I've used it
Mm.
in past shows for my Tantra is Life shows. But yeah, it's in gravity. Gravity is the web. Gravity is the web, and gravity is everywhere. They call it the weakest energy, but yet it holds the fabric of the universe up. So yeah, everything is a part of everything, and the more that we can respect that, the more that we can resonate with that energy, that electromagnetic energy, and heal everything and everybody. We can be healed by just that one simple thing. Jumping in the ocean. It's the Atlantic out here. It's a little bit nicer than the Pacific, but jumping in the ocean and just stirring the water up, and feeling love and feeling the connection with the this world and every bit of life on it. you know that energy goes everywhere. It gets risen up into the clouds, it turns into rain, it goes to the land, and it returns to the cycle. And the more we can contribute that positive loving energy into this environment that we're in, the more this environment thrives.
I love that. That's how I feel about when I get in the ocean. And I'll move around and I talk to Mother Ocean. I send out prayers and
Mhm.
gratitude, and and it's interesting because you said move around, and I do that, but I don't consciously do that. I just do that because that's what my body wants to do. That's what I'm called to do. And and even just like, I'll give offerings to Mother Ocean of gratitude, some apples. I'm like, oh, let's take this orange and unpeel it, give it to the fish. And even if it washes up on shore, at least it's going back into the earth. The nutrients are going back into. And and it's interesting because as I've done that more, the more beautiful gifts that come into my life. And I'm not talking about monetary gifts. I'm talking about beautiful connections or a realization within myself on how to go to the next level of my soul's evolution, and stepping into that energy. And it's interesting because you said earlier about the 0 point, and I would love to hear a little bit more about that, and in more of like a third grader term, so we can
Mhm,
educate everyone who's listening and
mhm.
also build upon that.
I think this is probably a good idea for our next show, and
Okay.
because it is a long thing, and we're coming up on an hour here pretty quickly.
Yeah,
But I do want to
I
say
know.
that we have a lot of things embedded in our DNA that are just natural instincts inside of us all, and that cuddling up with and offering love to this world is an innate um, feeling that we all have, to plant plants, to help them grow, to help them thrive, to make dirt better so things can grow in it. All these things are just fundamental in our humanness, and a beautiful thing. You would really like my second book. The beginning of it talks about uh, talking by tapping on the water, on the ocean water, and sending
Really?
messages like that. Yeah, so you would really like that. It
Okay.
was something I did in my youth. But we should wrap this up, and
Yeah,
this has been a very wonderful experience for me. We have been
me
friends for
too.
so long, and we've always looked
Yeah.
out for each other, and
Mhm.
this is very endearing and welcoming, and I'm glad that we're doing it together. Uh, I just
Yes.
all you people out there who may feel alone, you are not alone in those feelings that you're feeling about love and happiness and fulfilling yourself in life. They are not pipe dreams.
No. David, I'm so grateful for you. And yes, we have been friends for so long, and this is great. I feel like there's a reason why this is happening, for us to collaborate. And also, I mean, you are such a great author. I would love for you to tell everybody a little bit about your books, where to find you, how to connect with you, because I feel like there's someone that's going to say, I resonate with you and I need to talk to you. So
David Hauser, Love Guide, GUIDE.com. My books are on Amazon. Soul Kiss, Tantric Tales of Mahamudra, The Love Story of Consciousness. Soul Kiss, In Search of the Diamond Sutra. The backstory of that's about human trafficking and our trajectory if we don't do something about it. And the third book,
mhm.
Lightning Vajra, Hidden Doorway, is about narcissism, which is a disease that we need to recognize, and there is no cure for it. But we need to recognize it as a culture and do something about it, because we cannot continue to be gaslighted about what reality is.
I love it. I will definitely I have your link down below in the description box, and I'll put more details there. And everyone can find you on YouTube under David Hauser. I'm Kiersa Brenner.
Love
And
that.
we will be bringing more shows because I feel like, David, you and I have a lot to say. And I think that it's just building that community of people knowing that they have a place to come and know that it's okay to have these feelings or have these thoughts that are outside of what we're trained and programmed, but this is actually what we're supposed to be doing as humans, to be humane.
Yes, yes, yes. These conversations, this is what you need to seek out in your relationships with other people. If other people can't,
Yeah.
bring this to the table in your conversations with them, then they're not ready for you. You have to move on.
Right.
We have to have boundaries. Boundaries are very important right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that'll be another show about the transits and everything. But I do know that we need to close up, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who joined, who's still on the live and watching it after. I really hope there's a nugget of information here to help you transcend and move forward, and giving you the courage and support that you need. So, yeah, David, love and light
Oceans
to you.
of love.
Thank you so much. Yes, lotions of love. Absolutely. All right. We will see you on the next show. We'll catch everybody on the next wave. And love and light to you, David. Love and light to everybody watching. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye.